Good morning, everyone. My name is MightyStream, and today is October the 24th. I'm going to do your Just for Today in a meditation. I'm looking forward to that. If you need to reach out to me, feel free to do so at recoveryofhope21@gmail.com. Brought to you by Hope Through Navigation. And this is our Hood Recovery Services. Let's go ahead and get into that meditation. Just for today. Let me get that where you can see it. October 24th, responsibility. We are not responsible for our disease, only for our recovery. As we begin to apply what we have learned, our lives begin to change for the better. Isn't that a beautiful thing? That's taken from Basic Text, page 91. The further we go in recovery, the less we avoid responsibility for ourselves and our actions. By applying the principles of the Narcotics Anonymous program, we are able to change our lives. Our existence takes on a new meaning as we accept responsibility and the freedom of choice responsibility implies. We do not take recovery for granted. We take responsibility for our recovery by working the 12 steps with a sponsor. We go to meetings regularly and share with the newcomer what was freely given to us, the gift of recovery. We become involved with our home group and accept responsibility for our part in sharing recovery with the still suffering addict. As we learn how to effectively practice spiritual principles in all areas of our lives, the quality of our lives improves. Just for today, using the spiritual tools I've gained in recovery, I am willing and able to make responsible choices. Let's take a moment of silence followed by the we version of the Serenity Prayer. Moment of silence now, please. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Please and thank you. Beautiful meditation. So sometimes what happens when we get in recovery, when we hear this for the first time, we are not responsible for our disease, only for our recovery. I think people sometimes misunderstand that. But in essence, what this is meaning is that during our using, right? During active addiction, the disease of addiction made a lot of decisions for us. We don't get to default on the consequences for those decisions that were made through the lens of the disease of addiction. That is not what this is implying. There are many consequences that we have to live with, the wreckage of our past. And we're not trying to dodge those. That's why we have the 8th and 9th step, so that we can make a list of those amends that we need to make. And we can actually go forward and make direct amends, except for when to do so could harm ourselves or others, right? And so your sponsor will guide you through that. That's not what this is talking about. What this is talking about is that we have an opportunity to live differently. And we should have gratitude and appreciation for how we're living today compared to how we used to live. And that if we take responsibility for our recovery, there are many, many things that we will never, ever do again. We might, but for the most part, there's a huge chance that we will never do the same type of things that we did if we're working the program of recovery. Occasionally things will come up, occasionally character defects will come up and cause us to fall short. Occasionally we will return to some of those behaviors because we're not sure that we don't need them. We may still think that we need them as survival skills. So occasionally those things, I love to hear almost when people say, you don't know who I used to be. I kind of want to hear a little bit about who they used to be. Because I know exactly what they're trying to imply. They're trying to say the person that I was out there is nothing like the person I am today. Today, I'm a husband that cares for his family, or I'm a wife that cares for her children and her husband, or I'm an employer today that actually shows up and doesn't leave the work with a bunch of tape and erasers and pencils and notepads. And yeah, I don't steal for my job today. I was talking to a person about being a cook or a chef, and um, they were just sharing with me that they got fed up of them running out of food uh, just when it's starting to get the busiest. And the reason they're running out of food is because there's employees that walk out the door in the evening with backpacks full of food that was meant for clients, customers, paying customers to come in and eat. And so little things like that are what I would consider traits of our disease of addiction. Um, and truly, if caught in the act, you can definitely pay a price for those. You're going to be held responsible for those actions. But in general, if you're working the program of recovery, there's going to be a bunch of things that you never do. There will be a bunch of things that you never do again because they no longer fit that MO. You have a different lifestyle today, and we have a choice. We have a choice about how we take responsibility for our recovery. Um, some people, they come into the program and they're just hit or missers. You know, they get years and years clean. They don't feel real pressurized to interact with anyone. They've attained the goal that they wanted. They put the drugs down and now they can work and make money as much of it as they want, and they live the lifestyle that they want. Um, some of those types of individuals find themselves back in church or back in their faith, actively involved in it. And the thing about Narcotics Anonymous, right, is that it's anonymous. So a lot of times you can have a type of belief or faith that you practice, and a lot of people don't know unless you share it. They don't know um, what type of religion you practice. This is a spiritual program, so why would I have a discussion with you about your religion? So a lot of times people don't know what your religion is, or they don't know how you um, practice your doctrine. They don't have any idea about that. So this is where I want to say this, and I hope that everyone can receive what I'm about to say in the manner that I mean it. And if you don't, charge it to my mind and not my heart, because I'm going to choose my words carefully. We are responsible for our recovery by working the 12 steps with a sponsor. And we go to meetings regularly. We share with the newcomer what was freely given to us, the gift of recovery. Here's what happens sometimes. Because people in the fellowship tend to steer away from religious discussion or how you practice your doctrine of choice, if you have a doctrine of choice. There's no accountability for behavior that doesn't match up to that. So let me make it more simple. You could have a person that's a deacon in their church, in the programs, or a pastor in their church, and anonymously they attend a 12-step program somewhere. And because we don't talk about religion, they may never, ever mention that they have a whole congregation that they pastor over, or they have responsibilities at the mosque. These things may never, ever come up, and no one may never know that they're responsible on that level to their religion. And so Narcotics Anonymous sometimes becomes a huge playground for individuals that do not really want to change their spirituality and apply spiritual principles and work the program. And so this can be a place sometimes where you can do what you want to do. And as long as whoever you're doing what you're doing doesn't mind, no one's going to run to your family and rat on you that you are cheap, or that you, whatever it is. Maybe you're a husband and you're married in a heterosexual relationship, but on the down low, you like men. And so you have male, mates or partners in the program, but you still have this image of being married to a woman with children. No one's going to go run to your wife unless you make them mad enough. No one's going to run to your wife and say, your husband really likes men. He has a few boyfriends, in the program or whatever, right? No one's going to do that because this is an anonymous program, and it's not our responsibility to judge your morality. That's your responsibility for you to monitor your recovery and what you do. And so I just want to throw caution out there because I know that some people have been devastated by those types of individuals that have run amok within the fellowship and caused great harm. There's been occasions where the dissonance between recovery and what they're really living, addict is really doing, has caused whole meetings to be shut down. There was just a shooting down south. And I mentioned this because we individually need to be responsible for our recovery. We need to make sure that we are maintaining the atmosphere of recovery in and outside of the meeting. It's very important that we're not living a double life, and it's very important that we're not living a mixed message or giving a mixed message. And a lot of times, an individual will not surrender completely to recovery until they have no choice. And that means that sometimes people get hurt and devastated. And I'm sure there's plenty of horror stories, but there are more beautiful stories than there are horror stories. The newcomer needs to remember that we're human. We're people trying to get better. And there's no model of a perfect recovering addict, right? There's no role model. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't try to become an attraction to others for recovery. Be responsible for your recovery. Focus on that more than anything else. Turn the butt kicking machine off about the disease of addiction and the things that you did then, and just focus on being a better you today. And you will make the atmosphere of recovery better for yourself and better for everyone else. My name is MightyStream, and I'm going to be talking to you tomorrow. I hope that you have a beautiful day on purpose.